here we go. Here's the thing.
All right.
This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today.
Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor. What do you say? Are you ready to begin?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lords of the Storm, episode 148. And you may be asking yourself right now, who is this voice? Where did it come from? Why is it on my podcast
I don't know.
But
How did this person get in here, Multi?
I couldn't tell you.
We had a good thing going.
I stole
And
the
then-
keys.
Yeah, some random guy.
Stole the keys. But have no
Yeah.
fear. It's only me. It's Greg Gizmozord Parker. I'm back.
And you could have rhymed that so well, and you just kind of dropped the ball on it.
I could have. I didn't prepare
Have
that
no
much.
fear, Gizmo Zord's here.
Gizmozord's here. There we
He's
go.
a poet, and he is not aware of it.
All right, so we'll restart that. Have no fear. It's just me. Gizmozord is here. It still wasn't as good. I don't know. But again, thank you for joining us. This is, of course, the weekly Heroes of the Storm podcast for you, the true heroes of the storm. I'm joined tonight, of course, by the two gentlemen who took over for me while I was gone, Mr. Kevin Multizord Ellis and Ryan TBK Zord Reader. And on this week's episode, the 420 Blaze It meme is alive and well in the Nexus, along with the latest patch. And we are getting closer and closer to the start of Season 2, Phase 1 of the HGC. But first, how are you fellas doing tonight, TBK?
I am doing wonderfully. Some exciting stuff to talk about. Some exciting announcements to make at the end. Lots of heroes. Lots of blaze. Lots of fire. It's been good.
Excellent. And Multi, how are you doing?
I'm doing quite well, although it would seem as though the Overwatch League is trying to compete with our time slot for our live stream here, and I do not appreciate that. Okay?
Yeah, who do they think they are? Like Wednesday
Seriously.
nights.
I
It's
know. They
been
have
Lords of the Storm
almost
forever.
as many viewers as us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now.
pretty close.
It's
It's going to take them a while to top us, though.
Yeah, I was really worried at first, but then when I saw the numbers, I was like, you know what, we got time to put the hammer down and make sure
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
get one up
No
on us.
worries.
It does
Because remember,
appreciate-
Wednesday night is Lords of the Storm night.
Well, obviously. It's not at all the night in which we should reinvent the genre of esports. No, come to Lords of the Storm. You guys who are here, you get it.
Yeah,
You get it.
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, there's VODs of Overwatch League that you can go back and watch
Yeah.
later. There's VODs
That's
of
what the
us
app
you
is
could
for.
go back and watch later, but why would you want to do that when it's live and happening?
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know.
But it again, it is good to be back. I've been away for 3 weeks, I think. Yeah, 3
Oh.
weeks. Not just from the podcast, but from my computer. So away from Heroes, WoW, all that stuff. And I'm sure Multi talked about it on one of the episodes. The thing I had to keep my skills intact and progress in my skills was my iPad. So playing Arena of Valor, which was pretty nifty and fun. But I'm super pumped to be back on my computer, playing some Heroes, playing some Overwatch, playing some CSGO lately, actually, strangely.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know why I started doing that, but I did. It's a thing.
We don't either.
You just wanted to start shooting people.
I did. I don't know. But yeah, I've been having a good time, and I've been really excited to get back here. What have you all been up to in gaming the past week, since you haven't been gone 3 weeks, I guess?
I've been doing some Divinity originals, Divinity 2 Original Sin, Divinity Original Sin 2. It's one of those. It's amazing though. Literally, it was my game of the year last year. So good. I'm having an absolute blast with it. I have also been playing tons of Heroes, so much Heroes, and since last night, lots of Blaze. All the Blaze, all the fire. He's so much fun. I just want to play him all the time. It's like
pretty
everything,
cool.
everything about him is wonderful. I haven't had a hero like speak to me this much in a long time, but like the base kit is cool. The look, the animations, the particle effects are incredible. The talent tree is really, really good and has a lot of situational builds and stuff to him. I've definitely played him as a solo tank. I've definitely played him as a secondary bruiser, and at least so far he's worked out pretty well. So yeah, he's been tons of fun. And then I am embarking also on getting a campaign ready for 5e.
Ooh.
Be DMing one here soon, so that'll be a lot of fun.
Excellent. Multi, what about you?
Nice. I haven't had nearly as much time to play as I usually do. I got in and got a little bit of Blaze in, but so far I did a little PTR testing and that sort of thing, so haven't really played him in a full-on, even quick match just yet. But soon. I mean, he's only been out, what, day and a half? Something like that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll try him out some more. But in the meantime, I finally have started actually trying on my dungeon runs in Hearthstone. So in the
Because you weren't trying before.
well,
Like,
seriously,
I might as well
wasn't
just
playing it
throw
much.
this card down and
Yeah, just casually like picking whatever. You just
Yeah,
you
exactly.
get your new treasures and you just close your eyes. Just
just
the
click
screen.
randomly.
Yep. Hope for the best. No, but seriously, so I finally like, because so far I had been doing no research at all, just kind of saying, all right, well, I'll get in there, I'll see what seems like it might work and try for it. But it turns out the dungeon runs are such that if you hear even like a 1 or 2 liner bits of tips on a particular class, that'll do it. I started tuning into the Kriparian videos. He does these shorts that are like master classes on the different classes, essentially. Class master classes? He should have called it that. Either way. And so
Quick,
seriously, like,
copyright it.
yeah, seriously, I'm doing it right now. No, so just a couple quick lines of, oh, here's a direction you can go with Priest, and then I could sit down and one-shot it. So it was super fun. So now I went from 1 out of 9 to 6 out of 9 in like a week. So we're gonna finish strong as soon as I can.
Excellent. I'm still 100% clear rate on dungeons. 1 for 1.
Oh, with your one shot.
1
yeah.
for 1. Even though that one run took like 3.5, 4 hours because of the bugs I was facing. But it happens.
Yeah.
So I'll hop back into one of these days. But
I think it's too late for you to make the leaderboard and qualify for the $30,000 tournament now, but you could still do it for bragging rights.
Or I could just never touch it again and say I have 100% clear rate. But
Also that.
I'll play it again because it's fun. It's worth it. But for myself, so Blaze, and we've talked about this before, I have been predicting a Firebat for like 2.5 years, which normally you might say, and you still probably can say this, Gizmo, if you say something is going to come out for 2.5 years, it's going to come out eventually. But this isn't like a big name, this is a unit character from one of their smaller franchises. So I'm pretty stoked for it. And I was a little worried when I first kind of watched the highlight that he just wasn't going to fit my style at all. But I've been having a lot of fun with him. He is one of the more recent characters that I've had a lot of fun with, which is good. Hanzo, I tried giving a second chance. It just
Nope.
no.
Nope.
Nah,
I think
nothing
nope.
either.
He's gonna be one I may struggle to get to 5, but I'm gonna try.
I'm not gonna lie, I am very much struggling to get him
Yep.
to 5.
I haven't been
He's at like-
and I.
He's at like 3.5 for me.
It's
And here's the thing too, like throughout the entire holiday deal, I would sort my profile by who I need to level up next based on how much EXP they have. He always was like 3rd or 4th on that list, and I just still didn't want to play him.
I mean, honestly, it's he's not bad. He's
No.
really not bad.
It's not
I
him, it's
just
me.
don't like him.
it's especially since his changes. I do think the making the spread thinner helped It,
Oh, I do want to check that out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it did help a lot.
I mean, obviously it's harder to hit things, but it's easier to do more damage with it. So that helped, and he seems to be putting off good numbers. He just doesn't really fit my style. So unfortunately, I can't say I'm a Hanzo main. But since I've been gone, obviously a lot of things have changed that I didn't really get to play or try out until here recently. So I just kind of want to get your guys' opinions on, just real quick, because obviously you guys have talked about it on the show before, of the changes and kind of is everything going smoothly as you guys had hoped? Is there anything you don't like, TPK?
I think they made a really good pass to clean up some of the issues here with this Blaze patch, and we had a big segment on it a week or two ago, just kind of talking about how we felt toward the end, and it seems like a lot of our frustrations were pretty much covered during this last Blaze patch. I mean, they upped the damage on the forts, keeps, the towers, which was really good. They nerfed the globes a little bit to keep that from spiraling out of control. He asked, so we're going there. We're going there right now. But yeah, I mean, it's they fixed most of the issues. Of course, it's only been out since yesterday, so I don't have a really good grasp of whether this is going to fix the shorter game times and the snowballiness we started seeing since the beginning of the 2018 gameplay update. But I'm hopeful. Yeah. It's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's just interesting because I had never been in this situation before, to where I had been away this long since I got in the game back in alpha. So I was only able to kind of look at reactions on Twitter, which were not the greatest at some points. But I think you can expect that with any extremely large changes to the general gameplay itself until they balance them out, which is good that they're doing. Although it's, I will say, kind of my biggest disappointment after watching all this and everything that happened with the ranking systems is the performance-based matchmaking kind of pooping itself.
Being turned off.
It's still offline too. And
yes,
still my major concern.
Yeah, it's looking more and more like we're not going to see it this season, which is a huge disappointment, considering that was one of the big draws of coming into this big 2018 gameplay update, and just it was supposed to be one of the big, quote, fixes for Hero League, and having that kind of crash and burn right out of the gate, and then just to hear nothing. We've heard nothing about the status of it since all the ranked problems and all the resets and everything. So it is kind of worrying to me, honestly. And I'm very scared we're not going to get it back this season. We're just going to have to wait a whole nother season to see it implemented.
Yeah.
Now that said, I mean, I'm not scared of it waiting the season, because frankly, at this point, if it comes online mid-season, it's kind of awkward, right? Like, you'd almost think that a person starting midway through the season or near the very end would, in some ways, have certain advantages over people who finished their placements earlier and that sort of thing. So my guess is now, because we were all kind of waiting for this Blaze patch, right, to see if it would come back online with it. But now that it hasn't, I'm with you, TBK. I really do think it's probably going to be next season, this late in the game, for those reasons.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it happens, and we have kind of a question that ties into this a little bit later that I'll go more in depth on, because I have some thoughts as well as to what could potentially avoid these scenarios in the future. But let's go ahead and get on into the show here. Real quick, we want to give a shout out to our newest patron over at patreon.com/Lords of the Storm, and that is Jared L. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. Along with all of our other patrons, you guys support the show and allow us to do what we do and do what we do better. And it really helps a lot, and you should notice that, hopefully, in the next... wow. We'll get more into that later, too. Just all these little teasers. All these little
Teasers
teasers I'm
everywhere.
throwing at you. Let's go ahead and get on into the news. Teasers with Gizmo. That's what we're doing today. Brawl with the Blues is coming back. It has been a while, I feel like, since this has been a thing.
It's been since Trixler was a community manager.
Wow. Yeah. So that's been a
I'm pretty
long
sure.
while. That has been
Yeah,
an
it's
Has it really
entire
been that
year.
long? That's pretty crazy. But all right.
Because they may have done one or two after him, but it kind of died out when he left.
Oh,
If I recall right. So yeah, this is the triumphant return.
it is.
yeah.
And what better hero to have it than with Firebat, because Firebat's awesome. So with this Brawl with the Blues, it's going to be Dunk Train, as well as the lead hero designer behind the new Warrior Blaze. And that is going to be Jade Martin, who we had one of our interviews with at BlizzCon. He designed Dahaka, I believe, Garrosh, some other warriors. And so it makes sense that he designed another warrior here.
He's like the warrior guy.
Yeah, the warrior guy. And this is going to be tomorrow. So if you're listening to this later in the week, it probably already happened. But if you're listening live or Thursday, January 11th in the morning, it's going to be at 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Pacific. And they're doing it a little differently this time. So it looks like they're going to be doing 5 games here. And they're going to be turning up the heat while they play and eating some hot and spicy foods, such as maybe some Sweet Heat Edition Skittles, maybe some Da Bomb Ghost Pepper Nuts and Katie's Ghost Peppered Beef Jerky, perhaps some Sonoran Spice Carolina Reaper gumballs, which sound gross. They may throw some Mad Dog 357 hot sauce on a tortilla chip with that, and then they might, who knows? I don't know. I'm not reading this anywhere. Eat some orange habanero peppers for their final round. And I lied. I am clearly reading that from somewhere because that's what they're going to do. And this is reminiscent of what was the stream?
Bloodlust.
Bloodlust.
Yes,
Yeah, I
Bloodlust.
was about to say.
Yeah, I really hope that they can't have milk or water or whatever, but except between rounds.
Mhm.
So, because I still think one of the funniest things in all of Heroes I've ever seen is Dunk Train and Zoya casting Bloodlust while eating the insane. I don't remember what pepper it was they ate, some ghost pepper or some Carolina Reaper or something like it was whatever it was. It was literally some of the funniest 15 minutes I've ever watched as they try to cast this Curse Hollow game and are just dying inside and just sweat pouring off them.
Yeah,
It was amazing.
part of me hopes I learn absolutely nothing from this Brawl with the Blues because I just want to see them in pain. And not like in a
just
bad
hear them.
way, but in a comical way. Maybe that makes me a little bit of a sadist. I
Oh,
don't know.
it's so evil. Yeah. I want to watch you suffer.
But it's their idea, so, you know.
It is. It is. Yep. Good point. Question though, did you have to have a beard to qualify for this one? Because if you look at the article on it, they've photoshopped some flames on the beards.
I have a flame beard.
I was about to say, yeah, you just have a
And
natural.
they wouldn't even have
I
to
would have a
Photoshop
flame
it.
goatee.
Yeah. So, way to
So
screw
maybe?
the pooch on that one, Blizzard. No, I'm just kidding.
I could just try to light my bare face on fire.
I don't know, but it's a nice
don't know.
little Photoshop job. I like it. I can
It
dig
is.
it.
Yes.
But no, it's good to see that back. Hopefully, we'll see some more of those returning with future heroes.
I'm so excited to try and watch that.
Oh yeah.
It is always funny, especially if the person is not used to hot things,
Yes.
to see that in action.
This actually might be like the first Brawl with the Blues I'm actually able to watch, so I will make sure to check that out tomorrow. But as I mentioned at the top of the show, so Blaze is live now along with a patch, and that patch, as TBK teased earlier, has some changes in it, some reactionary changes to what's been going on with the balancing of the game overall that may help out. So first,
Yeah. Quick note
Well,
on
we-
that. Honestly, the most orange text, like changes between the PTR patch and the live one, that we've seen in a long time, if not ever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know
well,
if I've ever
we
seen
went
this much
over
orange.
we went over PTR. We went over PTR last week, and it was basically just overview of Blaze and Malfurion changes,
It's
Right.
not anymore.
and that was pretty much it. And then
Well,
live
those are all
hits-
still in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are. Yeah, they're still in, but then live hits, and it's just like and everything else.
Right.
Yes, a lot of everything else. But let's talk Blaze reactions here real quick. So, as we said, I am absolutely loving him. I love his way to kind of control the field, even though he does have a little bit of range with the slows, his stuns, his self healing, I think is excellent and not too over rewarding, but rewarding for using your abilities correctly. Which is awesome. He might actually be a character that gets me back into tanking a little bit. I kind of got sick of the stale warrior meta, so I stayed away from that. And I don't know. He feels nice. I think he's in a pretty good spot here. I haven't had a chance to see if he really has a win percentage on hot slogs yet. But I imagine
It's not
he's going to be.
super good.
It's not? Interesting.
42% right now.
Well, that.
There's a little learning curve.
Yeah,
So-
I think
so-
I'm gonna wait till next week as well because that comes with. Well, I guess most matches now all have a fire bat in it, so it's at least gonna be at 50%.
There's
Statistically,
definitely there's a little bit of me too that questions how accurate Hots Logs is these days.
yeah,
Just the amount of games uploaded has gone down. It's just gotten to the point. It's like so ad filled. People seem to be very adverse to using it. I don't know. Like I honestly question now how big of a delta there is between Hots Logs and official data because
There's always been a huge
my
one.
guess no there hasn't.
Hmm?
There
yeah. Blizzard's
hasn't
come
always
out
been
and
a
said
huge-
that it's
yeah.
it's not exact, but it's fairly close
Along
for
the
something.
same
to,
Yeah, it's
go off of.
been at least in the past it's been comparable, but it just feels like to me that it might be drifting more and more as it goes, and it's just another one of those things. I would love to see an official API,
Yeah.
so we can see what they're seeing in terms of win rates and such, so we can have better discussions about it.
Yeah.
Well, it's because one person out of the 10 in a game has to upload the result to Hots Logs for it to be logged, right?
Mhm.
So is our guess then that just overall usage is low and thus we're not getting all the games?
Yeah, makes sense to me. I haven't uploaded any of my games in probably like
Oh,
a
I
year and a
haven't either.
half. I used to have like the auto uploader that would do it. But yeah, I really don't go to that side. I don't check my stats and stuff anymore.
No, I
just
haven't.
kinda
I haven't
give it a
messed
quick-
with it in quite a while.
Gander here and there.
No, me either.
So that makes sense.
And see, there's
But
the
it's
problem.
but it's still the best we have.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, we can only talk about what we know, and that's the best we have now. So we don't need to have a big discussion on it, but we're just hopefully this is the year something better will come along and something a little more official.
Yeah.
And I mean, if a tank does come out with a slightly lower win rate, I mean, some of it is it's hard to figure out how tanks fit into comps just in general. Like, am I going to be spending my time doing a lot of peeling with that charge stun, or am I charging in? How durable am I versus the other tanks, et cetera, positioning, everything. So, I mean, I could totally see like a legit good character, a legit solo tank still coming out and just still because of the learning curve and because of those factors coming out a little low. So, I mean, I'm not that surprised really.
Yeah. And I think we'll see him more in an off tank role. I think he can solo. But I think he's a great secondary tank. Just kind of doesn't have.
He's got
as
good
much
wave
damage.
clear. So
Great wave clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a decent bruiser type build as well. Like I was saying, his talent kit is actually really well designed. It's very, very flexible depending on the situation you're in. You can go full tank or you can go a much more damage oriented bruiser type build. So that just gives him more flexibility, which is great.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that there's an actual auto attack build. Like you can build up his just general flame cannons on his auto attack quite a bit.
Oh
It's
yeah, and it
actually
pays
pretty
off
fun.
really well at 20 too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What build have you guys been going most of? I myself have been doing more of the flame stream build, but I've tried out the oil spell as well. And again, it's more of a situational thing. But like you said, I think he's going to have really good talent diversity compared to a lot of other heroes. What about?
Yeah, I've mainly been going oil-ish
Ooh.
type build. It's that especially when I'm main tanking.
Yeah.
It's a very self-sustain heavy build. You go for the shield at level 1, and then you get the oil that still slows even while it's on fire, which is super nice from a tanking perspective because otherwise you lose that slow when you light it. And then you've got the stacking quest that you can get that will allow it to stay out longer, which means more slow, more healing, and less downtime between fiery oil spills. And then you've got a nice talent later on at 16 that lets your Pyromania heal you for the damage it does. So especially if you're in a very melee heavy situation on the enemy team, you can get stupid value out of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's he can be pretty tanky with good self-sustain if you build him right.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about him, I think his heroics are a little weaker from some of the heroes I've seen released. Combustion
Sure.
Bunker Drop, I think, just needs buffed. That thing doesn't.
Probably needs a 5 health buff.
Yeah,
At least.
that might. That's yeah. What is that? I don't get it. But
It's a StarCraft meme that the bunker unit in StarCraft over several patches got like health buff, health nerf, health buff, health nerf.
Oh,
And
so
it
it's
was
like
in
a
very
Nubarak.
tiny. It was in very tiny increments. I definitely feel like Bunker is probably the more situational of the two ults. It can be extremely strong in certain situations, though, especially because you do get that armor coming out of it, which is really, really, really nice. It can clear the status effects, which is also nice. Combustion is great in a lot of ways for dealing damage. You have to be really careful with it, though, because
if you get stunned, it goes off.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
It is an ult, a 90-second or whatever ult that can be negated completely by a single stun.
yeah,
And so I feel like especially with the speed decrease that he has, he should either gets like unstoppable with combustion, or combustion should not be interrupted when you're stunned. You may just stay there and be stunned, but I don't think it should
But keep it
interrupt the
going.
ult. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I completely agree because there's at least half the time it seems like as soon as I cast it, I'm stunned and it's wasted. But the bunker drop's nice because it does act as terrain that's not passable, so that's nice for close corridors, like narrow areas blocking off a path for team fights. Oberock says, "What if bunker stuns around it on impact when it's summoned?" A stun might be too strong, but like a slow or something, some sort of debuff might be nice on it.
Knockback, maybe pushing
A
people.
knockback.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you just give it a big health buff.
Yeah.
It does go down
5 HP,
right?
extremely
6, 7.
quickly if it's focused. It is very, very paper thin. But again, like I said, you get armor when you come out of it. You can attack from it with a flame stream, and you can exit from any direction. So it's a very powerful tool. So you have to be very careful with what you do health wise, or adding any extra stuff to it. I mean, it doesn't have a very long cooldown. So I mean, honestly, I just think it's a little more situational. I don't think it's bad as is. I think it can be very strong. You just have to use it in the right situation. I think combustion, on the other hand, while it's probably the more like every situation type ult, it does feel really bad to have a 90-second or whatever ult interrupted by a 9-second stun.
Yeah.
Yep.
and you
Some of which are really easy to get off.
completely negate it.
Yep,
Yeah, I
makes
could see the
sense.
bunker drop. I mean, even if it dies quickly, even if you block just a couple crucial abilities, I'm thinking about going up against a Li Ming and I just block the beginning of her combo and it prevents her from getting some resets that she may have otherwise gotten. And, my people then come out with a little bit of extra armor to avoid the next couple spells. Like, I
Yeah.
could see some uses for that. But you're right. It does come off a little more niche.
Yeah, it's
Combustion.
anti-wombo
think-
combo.
Yeah,
So
I
Deep
think
Red Ice
it'll.
says.
I think in the right situations, it will be overpowered.
Yeah.
Like it will be just so strong. But there's especially maps where there's capture points, such as Braxis, Curse Hollow, Volskaya, can all be extremely strong moments for that type of ult because you can throw that down, you can soak some free damage, and then everyone pops back out after shooting flamethrowers with extra armor.
Yeah,
Right.
makes
It
sense.
seems like the route that the pros will go if they test enough and find a good, comp to build around it. And
I think
use
it'll be
for it.
more used than combustion
Yeah, right.
and in combustion's current state.
Yeah,
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
yep. But for me to react to him, just generally speaking, I mean, honestly, it's probably not a very big secret that StarCraft is probably my least favorite of the Blizzard IPs at this point. But there was a time, I mean, it was StarCraft 1 was the first game I ever played from Blizzard. So, so it really, anytime there's a hero that's added that has a lot of flavor from StarCraft 1, I just love it. And this guy, I mean, obviously he doesn't really look like the tiny, grainy Firebats did in that game, but I mean, the bunker drop definitely has a lot of flavor from it. And just in general, like, I like him.
Yeah, that's
Can't wait to play him some more.
StarCraft as well. I've never played through it. I've tried several times. I have not been successful. But as soon as I saw the Firebats the first time playing through StarCraft, I loved them and wanted one in Heroes. It just made
They
sense.
were the
to me.
unit I never figured out how to get good with. Like I could do some stuff with Marines and like siege tanks and stuff, but
I
Firebats
just
were like, what?
throw them at the Zerg and let them burn things. I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. I guess I just
so-
never built enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, while we're on the Blaze topic, you may have noticed, as some people on Reddit did, that some of his textures don't look quite as good as some of the other units, or it looks slightly stretched, or whatever. So Kinnebrew, one of the 3D artists on Reddit, actually came to kind of give a little explanation as to why he might look a little off compared to some of the others. So it's not an old model. All the heroes use the same size texture sheet, but it means larger heroes like Blaze have the same size texture sheet as Hanzo. And since Hanzo is quite a bit smaller than Blaze, you'll notice his pixel density, which is the amount of pixels to describe a specific area, is higher. If you were to check out our Hero Deep Dive at BlizzCon, they went over it a little bit when they talked about texture budgets. So everything they do is for game view. A side effect of this is that sometimes our larger heroes show a smaller pixel density in the store and character select. And that's why they may look slightly less detailed when you're looking at them at the character select or the store screen versus in game, where the pixel density doesn't matter as much when they're zoomed out.
Yeah, and he went into detail, like a whole bunch of questions, because people are like, oh, what about ETC L800 or Alexstrasza, because those look more detailed, and so he gives some answers on those too. It's just it's one of those fascinating things you don't really think about, and there are reasons for it, which makes sense. But I will say his Fel Reaver skin, the light blue one, the ice one, is incredible.
Oh yeah,
It's insane.
that's the best one for sure.
I got the bundle.
I
really
wasn't
like
going
Fel Reaver
to
skin.
until I saw that skin tint, and I had to.
It looks really good.
It's really good. But like we said, there have been a lot of orange text added to what was in the PTR here. And one of those things was with regeneration globes. So they have been nerfed slightly. The total health regen over the 5 seconds for health has been reduced from 11.7 to 9, and mana from 7.8 to 7%. So a little bit
See, the
of
health nerf is not slight. I don't think that sounds. I mean,
it's almost
we're talking
3%.
single digits, but that's a lot
Yeah.
per globe. And now the fact that you can pick up 2 globes essentially if you lane properly. So yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, the mana is a big deal too, but that health, that is serious.
Yeah. And it makes sense to me with the fact that you can get 2 globes now to
Yeah.
not allow somebody, if you're being bullied in a lane, to have that lane completely snowball because you're having to go back so much.
Yeah, and that's what
Yeah,
they
that's
call
rough.
out in
Yeah.
the developer comment down below too. It's too easy to snowball if you had dominance of the lane the entire time.
Yeah. And there also are some mercenary changes, which again is not surprising now that they have their new abilities. And I actually have some questions on this. So for Hellbats, it has Defenders, the armor shred amount reduced from 5 to 4% per stack, and reduced base health from 4275 to 3420, which is quite significant. And then the Laner, same thing pretty much, except the health not quite as much and health scaling changed. But what's the difference between a defender and a laner?
I've got a guess, and this is just a guess. Is defender when they're actually standing at the camp when you kill them for the first cap, so that they can then start laning?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay,
That makes sense.
I'm almost positive that
I'm almost positive
that's
on
the
that too.
differentiation. Yes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense there. And then the same thing with the knights. The spell armor for defenders increased from 15 to 20, and for the laners, reduced from 30 to 20. So it looks like they
Which is
pretty
huge.
much made them, at least the knights, harder to capture and a little bit weaker in the lane, which
Which was totally needed.
Yeah,
It was a 30 spell armor aura was ridiculous.
that's one of
It was
those.
absolutely ridiculous.
That's
Yeah.
one of those things I read a lot about on Twitter. Was people angry that it was just so strong, or people angry that their teammates not realizing that this was a thing and not pushing correctly with them, those types of things. So
I'm kind of embarrassed. I don't think I realized that the mage gave off the aura when they were defending, like when we were clearing the camp.
Yeah, and I've been telling people for so long, ever since the patch came out, it's like kill the mage first, regardless
Yeah, yeah.
of whether it's
Oh,
in
yeah.
the lane
That's been a
or
thing forever.
in the camp. It's just like kill the freaking mage first, guys.
I mean, it's
You're
always been a
just
good call to
hurting
kill
yourself.
it first, just because it
Yeah.
dies easier. But yeah,
Slime Boss Warhead Junction looks like the base of all of his stats and abilities have been reduced, but scaling has been increased. I'm interested to see how that weighs out, because that's kind of always typically been one of the weaker bosses, in my
Well,
opinion, anyways.
It's mostly so that you can't capture an early boss and snowball push with it, because it was oppressively strong early on, and if you did get that early capture, and you could push all the way to keep with it pretty easily. And so now they're cutting down on a lot of the base stats and then scaling those back up a lot more over time, so that you can't just have that early capture and death push.
Okay. That
yeah.
makes
They
sense.
even cut the scaling in minutes 1 through 5, but that would have been kind of a tough boss to get in the first 5 minutes, right? I'm trying
Depends
to
what
think
your
if
team
heroes that could pull
comp's
it
made
off.
up of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you can get away with it.
And I
if
mean,
I'd
you
land
throw,
long enough.
and then especially these days, you throw Sylvanas into the mix, and you're in for a world of hurt. I mean,
Yeah.
Sylvanas, just especially with the ammo changes and the way things work now, her trait is just, and it makes me wonder a little bit whether they're going to have to go back and address her trait at some point and
Possibly.
change it.
I think so.
Because, and I think so too. And in as much as I would hate it, just in the way of it's been that way forever, it is such an incredibly strong ability that can negate so much. And Blizzard has even come out and said that map designers have to work around that trait. They have to design with that trait in mind, because they know it's a possibility. And it feels like when you have an ability like that, that's an ability that probably shouldn't exist.
It's
Yeah,
It
and when you
shouldn't
think
be
about it-
stifling map design.
yeah.
Agreed. And when you think about it, now that the forts and keeps and towers and all that have a damage buff, spoiler alert, that's coming up next in the patch notes. That's a buff to her, because she's negating all the more.
Yeah. That's as soon as they announced this at BlizzCon, Sylvanas was the first thing that popped in to my mind. And I don't know if they need to go as far as completely change her trait, or I don't know if something as small as adding a cooldown to it or charges with a cooldown to it would be enough.
I know I just
It's weird,
I just get the sense that there's a good chance we might see something happen to Sylvanas' trait this year.
Yeah. And
The answer could be, honestly, just build the trait into one of the abilities. Like have it be a side effect of Shadow Dagger. Is that what it's called? The W?
Yes.
yeah.
And that makes
Just
a lot
have
of
it be a
sense.
Shadow Dagger
Like-
thing, because then it's just not up as much, and you've still got something that spreads off of Shadow Dagger,
Mhm.
and it would still be fine. You could even build talents that stretch it out longer, you know.
Sure, and you could, with that trait gone, you could then come up with ways to work to spread that power into other abilities. Perhaps a really cool new trait. Maybe
Yeah.
possession becomes the trait. And it's just something you always have. That seems
she
like
gets-
something that would be very Sylvanas-y. Your D just has charges, and you just take that talent out of the game, or you buff that talent or buff the trait when you get to that talent instead. Throw, like Multi said, her ability, her current trait on her Shadow Dagger. It spreads. You can still, take out that minion wave and slow it down. You can still take out the forward or keep or towers for a short time as you're doing a push. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yep, and I see it in the chat right now. It might open some windows for Banshee form, the big Banshee screen from the Battle for Azeroth cinematic. Just do it.
Banshee form trait. Yeah. I like it.
I could be down with that. Let's see here. Like Multi said, Forts Kiev's got a buff. They both have increased damage to minions, mercenaries, monsters, heroes by 33%. That's the tower damage as well as fort damage, and then the keep's the same. But they also got a health increase from 16,000 to 17,000, which is, I think, good changes there. Towers of Doom alter respawn time increase from 90 to 110. So a little bit more time between objectives there, which I think is good. That one always seemed a little fast. I will say, I was playing Volskaya today. That map seems like the objectives, there's too long of a pause between.
I could see that.
I think it's a combination of a long pause and a weak objective.
Yeah. I don't know. I enjoy the map.
I was actually surprised we didn't see the Volskaya mech updates they were talking about in this patch.
Oh.
Yeah, that too. That is interesting.
Yeah, it needs some. I enjoy the map. It's just a map that seems more like a basic map instead of a objective heavy. I still think it's a well-designed map. And this I do also think is a good change here. Battlefield of Eternity, and this is something they kind of hinted at BlizzCon, making these changes to maps to take out some of the randomness, but still have some in there as well. So the initial stage, the first objective is always going to be south versus north. Heaven will be on south, and Hell will be on the north side. The second will always be Heaven east, Hell west, and then the subsequent stages after that will be random.
And that's where it gets interesting, though, because we had all this talk about how Blizzard's general approach is going to be to cut down on the RNG factor across the board in all of their maps, to where people who really practice on a particular map will know, maybe even where the curses in Cursed Hollow are going to pop up. So I find it interesting, the fact that, yes, okay, on stage 1 and 2, we know exactly where they're going to be, but then it's randomized after that. It seems like a half measure where they are getting there kind of, and then randomizing.
It makes sense to me, and I know like a lot of professional players, they didn't want all the randomness to be taken out as well.
Oh, I
because
don't.
what this is going to do, like the first two stages, the first stage especially when your levels are so low, that can, if it's just not in your favor where it spawns, can cause a huge disadvantage. So later on in the game, say the third stage, it's not going to be as big of a deal, but you're still going to be able to make decisions based off of what happened, rotation decisions that will, favor you based on the decision you made instead of favoring you based on just where it happened to spawn first objective or second objective.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I like the Everyone knows what's going on at first, then random. And it's
That's
still,
true.
even for the random, it's still going to give you a heads up. It's still
Yeah.
going to say, hey, these are going to spawn here. It's not going to tell you where they're going to be after the halftime show, but at least it's going to tell you initially, hey, here's where these are going to start. It's going to be random, quote, but you'll still get the warning beforehand. You just won't know what it's going to be until 30 seconds beforehand.
And I actually read that wrong. So it's not the first 2 objectives. It's just the
Yeah,
first
I'm noticing this
objective.
too.
Yeah,
is
just the first one.
Yeah.
First objective, but the
second
first
stage.
and second halves.
Yes. So that makes sense as well. But
Why
yeah,
did they use the term halftime? Everyone knows that term.
you don't have to.
After halftime,
But then you
Yeah,
got,
go
you
on.
got periods and you got quarters and I don't know, all that stuff.
it's getting too complicated. You're right.
But this has been a big topic as well. For the ranked battleground rotation, Warhead Junction is out. Yay. Volskaya Foundry has been added, which yay.
And I think I think the current rotation is the official HGC rotation now.
I believe so.
Is it now? Okay.
Which
That's-
I'm
Kinda what we wanted.
I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure.
Chat
I'd
can
have to go back and
confirm.
look.
Maybe.
But I like it. Warhead, fun map to play every once in a while, but especially if this is the HGC rotation, Warhead was rarely, if ever, played. It was just a ban. So I'm hoping that maybe we'll see some Volskaya. I don't think we probably will until we see some mech changes. Those get added in, but here's to hoping.
Well, now that they've nerfed my early game slime boss strategy on Warhead, I don't even want to play the map anymore. So good riddance.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good changes, I think.
It is. No, it's
But
good.
so, you guys went over the Malfurion changes last week, correct? Those aren't orange.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, we're good.
Good.
There.
Yep. Those are orange.
Which I will say, I do like those changes. I think it makes him much. I played a game of him before the show. I think it makes him much more.
certainly ups the
fun.
skill cap.
Yeah, it does up the skill cap for sure.
It really does.
The
And he still
Moonfire-
needs some indicators. He needs some indicators for
He
the
does.
regrowth a little more, because when
The
you're
length.
talking 20 seconds, I want to know who's got it on
The Leafs are
and
fine
how much
for me.
time is left.
The Leafs are good,
The
but
time, the time
Yeah,
would
time
be
is
nice.
left.
The
Maybe
time's
like a
big deal.
leaf with a little like a
Yeah, a little circle countdown thing.
Yeah, yeah.
or it starts flashing when it's about to run out, or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I like that. But there were some other hero changes here. We mentioned Hanzo, his scatter arrow. The spread has been narrowed, damage reduced. Again, it's a little harder to hit, but it does seem to do a little bit more damage, even though each individual damage has been reduced a little bit. Natural agility, good change. Cooldown reduced, range increased. People are having issues jumping over some of the terrain, so this just makes it, I think, a little easier to get over those bigger obstacles. Other than that, I mean, he's got some more changes here, but he's
Well, this is crazy. So level 7 shield breaker.
That one is nice.
This gone.
This was a situational talent that was incredible in certain situations, and that's why they removed it. But I think this is the quickest a talent has ever been removed from a brand new hero.
That is a good point. And it does mark even fewer options for anti-shield. So, I mean, he could have been a niche pick against certain picks, and now he just doesn't fit that role anymore, which is okay, I suppose. But
It's not a whole lot, but they did move sharpened arrowheads from level 20,
to 7.
gave it new functionality at level 7, and that's the one where hitting a hero with Stormbow basic attacks reduces their armor by 5 for 4 seconds and stacks to 25. That's a pretty powerful deal at level 7. And I've already felt that some in my Blaze games when I've been playing against a Hanzo.
Ooh, I can see that.
Yeah, having that armor reduction so early. Yeah, I just thought it was kind of interesting. It may have happened once or twice before, but very rarely do we see talents just get axed completely this soon after a hero comes out.
It was pretty good, though. I mean, I told you one of my first games on him was against Artanis and Kerrigan, and I took that and I just ripped the shields away. GG. They were easy targets. So, I don't disagree.
Yeah. But to make up for moving sharpened arrowheads to 7, they added perfect agility at 20, which gave it a second charge and reduced the cooldown. His trait, so I wasn't a fan of it to begin with. I understand why they made it the way they did because he is a ranged hero. But really, the mounted, I believe it's mounted archery, where it makes it whenever you use perfect agility, you automatically mount. It's a pretty cool trait. It's pretty neat. And so that can be pretty cool for having 2 charges of it. However, play of the game, I think, is still way better if you go Dragon's Arrow. But they buffed a couple other talents there as far as movement, speed, and damage for Giant Slayer. Nova TPK.
2 weeks in a row. Nerves. Makes me sad. They nerf snipe again. They nerf pinning shot a little bit. They nerf precision strike some. They did increase the damage per stack of the precision sniper trait. And so it's 6% per stack instead of 5% per stack. So it kind of makes up for some of these damage decreases if you can keep precision sniper stacked. Then they kind of just tweaked a few talents. Lethal decoy got another 5% damage reduction on it. One in the chamber got a 10% damage reduction down from 70 to 60. Yeah,
it's
making me sad, guys.
Developer comments. It's nice to see that the recent changes to Noah have been so wildly embraced by players. So we nerfed her. That's not actually what it says, but it makes sense.
We're back to us true Nova mains.
Yeah. Her single target burst is a little nuts right now. But they made changes to all the stealth heroes here. Again, some buffs, some nerfs, which makes sense because whenever you make an overall change to stealth the way they did, it's kind of like what they did with the support nerf a couple patches ago, that they're going to have to make some tweaks here. So Samuro got a nice little health buff baseline, as well as for his mirror images. Deflection level 4 got some increased armor. Level 7 talents got some nerfs and buffs. So Burning Blades.
Depends on what talent you take.
Yeah, Burning Blade reduced from 65 to 50. Phantom Pain increased from 40 to 45. And Crushing Blows reduction increased from 1.5 to 1.75. Have either of you played Samuro much since his changes? He's been one that I want to get back in.
I actually have.
Oh, how does he feel?
He feels pretty good. Honestly, and I played him only because I was trying to grind one more of my holiday chests there. You know how it goes. But yeah, no, I'd love the ability to swap with an image just kind of freely. I mean, obviously it has a cooldown attached to it, but you don't have to take the mirror image heroic to do that sort of thing now. So that feels good. And I mean, you can still kind of build them largely the same. I feel like I took more or less the same build that maybe even we covered for him, where you're trying to build like, you crit every 3rd hit, and then you get extra damage on your actual W crit and that sort of thing. And I don't know. I mean, he's still probably not my play style overall, but I had fun.
Okay.
And I was rocking that monkey skin, so gotta love that.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of interesting because he plays somewhat differently than he did before, because your clones do not do hardly any damage. Most of that damage has been baked back into Samuro himself. But interestingly enough, he plays more like I felt he should have played originally, where you have the ability to do the image swaps a little more on demand without having to go into the ult, where you have the ability to place yourself in a certain direction when you do your mirror images and split up. He just feels really much tighter and much more controlled now, which I think overall has led to a much better play experience with him.
Good. Yeah. I don't know why I haven't tried him out yet. Him as well as Valeera are the two that I'm wanting to get in and test out the changes. Unfortunately, though, with Valeera, I missed at least the initial bandwagon, and hopping on that train for her silence has been on Garrote has been reduced from 2.75 to 2.5. I know a lot of people
still seems like a long time.
Yeah, a lot of people are surprised by that. A lot of people were expecting down to maybe 1.75, especially with the range.
Start.
Yeah, that she has on her abilities. But I've been hearing good things about her. So
she had gotten to a state again where she was just dominating quick match. And I mean, there's a good reason why. 2.75 seconds of silence time in Heroes / MOBA terms is an eternity.
I felt like she was always on the scoreboard at the end where you're upvoting people, always for silence duration, and it was the numbers were ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's like silence the entire team for half the game.
Yeah, it makes sense like in a quick match because there's heroics where Wailing Arrow I think is a 3.5 or 4 second silence, which granted that's a heroic and that's AOE, but if you're playing Valeera in quick match, and your job is ganking, almost 3 second silence on whatever short cooldown it is just it's too much. Zeratul as well here has got some buffs. So level 1, Move Unseen for his trait, movement speed increase from 25 to 30%. Level 4, Darkness Descends, passive attack speed bonus increased from 10 to 20%. And Warp Skirmisher at 7, bonus attack damage increased from 30 to 40. So
I love how the talent is called Move Unseen, but you can totally see him now.
Move Not So Unseen. They should rename it. Right. But yeah, so Zeratul had the lowest win rate out of all the stealth characters, so they're tuning up some of his stuff, trying to help out with that, which is interesting because I think a lot of people initially thought the changes to Zeratul and stuff was going to be quite a buff to him. But
I don't know. We haven't seen pro play yet.
We have not.
I'm very interested because just so something is not as good in the general population does not mean it's not going to be good
in
pro scene. We've seen that with Medivh. We see that with Zeratul, honestly. In a lot of ways, just players who are good with Zeratul were just doing insane things with him. So I'm actually really excited for HGC to start again, so we can kind of see what heroes pros are rocking in this new meta.
Yeah,
for sure.
Last hero here to get some changes, Garrosh, and I didn't get to play during the Garrosh. Huge changes coming to Groundbreaker. What have either of you played him?
Yes.
Yeah, I know you're more.
I haven't played him since this change, but I have since the Groundbreaker change.
So, what are your opinions on the Groundbreaker change in TBK? If you've played him since this change, do you think this is moving in the right direction still to bring him back?
Well, I mean, this is definitely numbers buffs, just kind of across the board. Because if I remember correctly, after they made that change, his win rate definitely dropped a decent bit, and I don't like it simply because, again, the way Garrosh was designed, his kit was just in complete synergy with his abilities. I mean, that's how he was designed. His talent tree supported what his Q, what his W, what his E did. And when they changed his Q to a knock-up stun instead of a pull, that broke so many synergies and so much with his kit. And so I honestly feel like I would rather see them do something with Wrecking Ball, whether it's put on a much longer cooldown, whether it's made into an ult. I don't know, but I'd much rather see them do something with Wrecking Ball than for Groundbreaker to get its pull taken away, because that's what he needed to do. He has no initiate. That was his initiate. And so when you take that away from him, he becomes far less useful, because you maybe even make it Q a little harder to hit, whatever, right? I mean, that's the thing. Just that was part of his kit. That was part of what made his stuff work. So when they took that away, it felt like he's just I'm not having near as much fun with him. And no, not just in the way of I get to pull everybody and throw them back constantly, although that was a lot of fun. And I'm sure many people enjoyed that. Just more in the way of I don't feel like his kit works together anymore.
Yeah,
fair point.
Is the stun still just on the tip of it, the knockup?
It is, and I was going to point
Yeah.
that out. So that's kind of an awkward thing. If they're going to stay with that direction, I think that you could probably pretty comfortably just make the entire cone the knock-up instead of just the tip. Because, yeah, kind of weird that that's still the case, right?
Yeah, that just and again, I haven't played them since changes, but yeah, I agree with TBK that I had gotten used to. Yeah, it's frustrating to get pulled in and thrown because it's pretty much an automatic death, but that's Garrosh should instill that fear, I think, and you learn to play around it. You learn to juke him, to use his Q, so you don't have to worry about it. And it's one of those abilities that you just kind of keep track of, kind of like, Jaina's Blizzard that has a longer cooldown. So you try and bait it out. You keep track of when she cast it, so when you can go in on her. And the rest doesn't seem like it would feel nearly as good. You need somebody else to help you single somebody out now. So I don't know.
He was top ban for a long time, so I
Yeah.
really do think something needed to happen because I never saw him in any of my ranked games. And now I don't see him in my ranked games either, but that's just because people don't pick him.
I feel like they should have done something to Wrecking Ball instead. Either
Yeah.
make it to where like the range, if you throw him behind, is not nearly as far. Reduce that range, or something. I feel
Or
like
maybe
you could have
it's
done
the
something to
pop-up.
Wrecking Ball.
Maybe it's the pop-up. He grabs you and then just kind of pops you up in the air.
Well,
Kind of
like-
like a smaller version of Blitzcrank. You know how he
Or like-
can long range grab you and then do like a little knock-up? That could
Or
be kind
like
of cool. and
like
scrappy.
Critic Kitten in chat is saying, swap Wrecking Ball and Decimate. Make people choose between the throw and the taunt.
Ooh, yeah.
Because
Well, no,
as an
Decimate's the
ult,
spin.
yeah, Decimate's the spinning. Maybe throw less charges on it. Maybe just have one charge. Maybe just have two charge on a shorter cooldown. That would give him a little bit of wave clear, and a slow. Potentially, you nerf the slow a little bit because it's not an ult anymore. But at the same time, that would allow you to have that Q into Wrecking Ball be okay, and then Wrecking Ball is on a 30 or 40-second cooldown.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
that makes sense. I do like that. Because Decimate would feel it feels like a basic ability anyways.
Yeah.
Which
And
is
then-
kind of cool.
And then
But,
you don't
yeah.
ruin his kit synergy.
Yeah, exactly. So I imagine
Buff
I
Wrecking
could
Ball a
totally
little
agree
bit.
with that.
If it was a heroic.
yeah, it'll be
Longer
interesting,
cooldown.
and I imagine that we might see some changes to him in the future as they test some more stuff out. But yeah, so lots of changes from the PTR over to this patch, and lots to test.
And you're
out.
missing the biggest one.
Tyrael
new announcer.
voiceover. Yeah, announcer.
Bought it instantly.
Did you?
Bought it instantly.
I really do want to get it too.
It's so good.
So-
I've been using it on Blaze.
I was actually wondering if that was new, because I got in yesterday to look at the shop and buy some more stuff and saw that there, and so I picked it up. It's like, oh, I never noticed that this was there, and I got it. But apparently it was new, so that makes sense. Other important news: I did get Ginger Dread Nazebo before the Winterfell ended,
Oh,
so I
good
won't
for
have to
you.
complain about that again for another year. And then I also want to, before I forget, give a shout out to Fokbu Pog, who gifted me 5 Winterfell chests while I was gone.
Yeah.
So I don't want to forget to do that. But
Same for Father Dante for me. Thanks, man.
nice.
But
The
no,
gifting
seriously,
works.
speaking of the end of the holidays though, I was scrambling to get the last few things that I wanted. I never did get the Vala skin, but I was so short on shards to actually craft the gingerbread mount that I had to just like play a few quick games to even pray that I had enough, and I just barely got it. So I'm totally out on basically all currencies now.
Which sucks because mecha skins are
Yeah.
coming
just
soon.
around the corner. Yeah, I
Oh,
basically have to
no.
unwrap those to get them. But at least those aren't seasonal, right? I mean, I have
No,
time.
they shouldn't be seasonal. Those should
I have
be
time.
permanent.
It is weird.
Next season should be Year of the Dog, right? Chinese New Year,
I don't know.
unless they do a Valentine's thing. But anyway,
It is weird because it is getting to a point where I'm starting to run low on currencies as well. Like I didn't get the Vala either. I didn't even get the gingerbread mount, which I'm kind of sad, or the special snowflake, because I think that special snowflake would have gone amazing with my
yeah.
Frostfell Reaver Blaze skin. But
I got lucky. I got the blue Vala skin out
Nice.
of a box. If I hadn't, I wouldn't have had enough shards.
I got the
I've been pretty low on
Malthael.
shards.
I got Seasons Reapings out of a box.
Oh, nice.
And then I bought a Malfurion skin. I got kind of the darker, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a darker red
Sure,
skin.
sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I know the one, the kind of like dark red one.
yes. And this is a little bit of a tangent, but I had some excellent luck on boxes. I got 3 legendaries in a row from standard loot boxes yesterday.
Wow.
So, I don't know what happened then. And I had everything. So, I probably wasted all that luck for later. But we have some important stuff. It's been a long time coming, but we have some news in the HGC. So, let's go ahead and hop into that. TBK, it's almost here. What do we got?
It is almost here, but unfortunately, you know it's not almost here. Open division details. Thank you. That was a great segue. Yeah, we are 1 week away from the HGC, and we still do not have any open division details. And this seems like it's a big ball drop. It feels like, because I was hoping this would be something that, because open division details were kind of late last year, and I was hoping this would be something they would tighten up. But for something as big as open division that leads into a potential HGC spot, it seems like we should have had details for this more than a week before HGC goes live.
I can see it coming out a few weeks after HGC starts. I mean, the Crucible still isn't until April 30th to May 7th. A lot of people that are in the open, going to be playing in the open, are still, working full-time jobs and stuff because they're not.
You got to remember, you got to give these teams need notice.
Yeah,
these teams need notice of rules.
Right.
And my personal thought on this is that, well, someone dropped the ball and it should have been out a while ago and it isn't. Or another likely scenario, they're switching providers to run the open division this time around. And I'm actually kind of leaning a little more towards that being more likely. It's possible we could see open division go away from Gosu and go maybe to MLG, which is the wing they bought, or potentially, who knows, maybe Tespa could run it too. I don't know. There's several different organizations that could, but that's kind of what I'm leaning toward, is there's some sort of a change over being made for who's running open division, and that's delaying the announcement of things.
Yeah. But as long as they get it out within the next week, 2 weeks, I wouldn't be too worried about it. But yeah, hopefully it's not same thing that happened last year. So
Right.
Yeah, so we'll see. So we'll be sure to keep our eyes peeled for open division news, because I know there are lots of people. I've know several people that listen to this who will be playing in open division teams, and good luck to you all. Because I would love to see. It's always cool to see new blood getting in there and getting a spot in the HGC, and so that's why, especially this last round of Crucibles was really, really fun to watch, because they were very close games, and we actually saw some upsets and saw some teams drop out. So that was really cool.
Right.
As a viewer, not as the team that dropped out, but these things happen. Overwatch League gets a tab in the launcher and an in-game menu option to pop out into a browser and view, and more importantly, an app.
Yep.
yeah.
So have you checked the app out yet?
Yes.
It's very nice.
Very smooth. And but
Very
honestly,
smooth app.
when I'm looking at the app and going through its options and that sort of thing, even things like the fact that you can make it to where you can't see spoilers and all that, it honestly reminded me of the HGC website quite a bit. So calls in the question, and I mean, I'm not an app designer, anything like that, but how much tougher would it be really to get an HGC app that's similar?
It seems, especially with how many esports Blizzard has now, it seems to me that it would be very smart from an app development standpoint to not build an app for Overwatch, but to build a framework for an app for esports, because then it's much easier to go in, then you skin it to be what you want, and all the esports would be populated with very similar information: schedules, teams, browser, in-app viewer, schedules. I said schedules probably, but yeah, players, all that schedules, even all that sort of stuff. I mean, that's all this essentially the same throughout all the different esports. So it makes much more sense to build a framework for an app, and then each of the individual app teams, if there's more than one, I have no idea, populate it with their assets and skin it with their stuff.
I don't know how I feel about it all being in one app, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not talking about it being in one.
Oh, you're just talking about creating a baseline.
An app framework
that
where you
the
can,
different games use.
Yeah, so it's like, here's the bones of an app. Now you send those bones to each of the app teams. If there is, like I said, I don't know if there's multiple mobile app teams or not, but you send those bones to each of the teams. They populate the bones with their assets, and then they release those as individual apps. So you have Overwatch app, you have HGC app, you have StarCraft esports app, you have WoW Arena esports app.
Yeah, I like that. I just, when you were describing it, I was picturing them all jammed together, and it reminded me of the BlizzCon app, and I was having flashbacks.
What?
Like, oh, I got a filter to these different games.
Yeah, and Kilmer kind of said the same thing. Build a Battle.net app for esports, and I talked about this in Discord a little bit. You have to be really careful doing that. If anyone could pull it off, maybe it's Blizzard that can do it, because a lot of people that play one game play a lot. But you want to stay away from that, and I think doing this for Overwatch League first, why they did that, is, again, going into the traditional sports thing. Not everyone who watches baseball watches football, hockey, basketball, tennis, soccer, all those things. So they don't want to have to dig through one app to find out what they want to know. So especially with, the backlash people got for people gave for Destiny going on the Blizzard launcher. You had a whole bunch of people saying that I don't want to download the Blizzard launcher just so I can play the game. People want what they want and nothing else, so you don't want to push people away from that. For people that listen to Blizzard podcasts and Here's the Storm and stuff, yeah, it would probably be fine for us, but they have to go for the majority here and not trying to make their, Blizzard fanboys and fangirls happy, which makes sense to me. So,
yeah, I agree. I'm hoping it does well and it works well. I mean, just trying it out, it seems very nice, very fluid. Like Multi said, you have a lot of the same types of things that you find on the actual site itself. It would be really cool to have a mobile version of that I could just pull up, see stats, especially as the site evolves more and gets more information. VODs.
Another good source for
schedules.
Yeah, more schedules.
Yeah, all the schedules.
Uh-huh.
And speaking of schedules, Heroes Esports has actually released a patch schedule for the HGC on what is going to be coming up for week 1. So we have it officially. Week 1 will be on the Blaze patch with Blaze disabled. And so I really like this a lot, because we'll get the Malfurion rework in there. We'll get a lot of these tweaks and such to the other heroes, and then we'll also get the anti-snowballing lane changes in as well, which I think will make for better games to watch. And then week 2 will be on the Blaze patch as well, but Blaze will be enabled in the second week. So it'll be really interesting to see if he sees play. I'm pretty excited. I hope he does.
I think he will as well.
I think he will. But this is pretty crazy, because at the start of the season, there will be 4 heroes well, 3 for the first week, and then 4 heroes starting the second week that have never been played pro before.
Yeah. Anna.
We're gonna have
Not to mention
Junkrat,
all the changes.
Alex Straza, Hanzo.
Oh yeah, Anna was playable.
Have never been played before in pro. So that's gonna be interesting. And yeah, multi, like you said, all these ridiculous changes. It's gonna be pretty crazy.
It's gonna be fun. It's actually it's a fantastic month for all Blizzard esports. Overwatch League started today. The Hearthstone World Championships is this month, and then this is a good month for esports. Pretty pumped.
It
Yep,
is.
It really is.
And it's in the perfect timing because my football season's over because of forward progression. I don't want to get into it. Don't
How
want to
about
get into
them
it.
Chiefs?
Don't wanna get
Okay.
into
So for us HGC people who have been really, really wanting HGC to come back, 1 week, January 19th, starting at 4 o'clock Central, which would be 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern, time zone math. It's going to be awesome. Old Gods face off against Gale Force Esports, and then looking for more esports will be facing Space Station Gaming to start us out that Friday. Super pumped, guys. I'm ready for HCC to be back.
Yeah.
Yep.
It
Good
has
weekend.
been. It has been too long. It's been what 2 months. It's been over 2
It
months. now.
feels like it's been more than 2
It does. But you know what? It's felt like a long time. But darn it, it's still a ton better than the old system, where we have a tournament like every 2 months.
Yes.
Right.
No,
No, yeah.
it most
It's still
certainly
way
is.
better.
It certainly is.
It's been gone as long as my son's been alive. That's a weird thought.
Yeah.
It's true.
Anyway,
Yeah. So, are you gonna start training him from the beginning? Just sit him in front. Is like as
We've
close
been
as you get to the
watching
TV and
VODs, yeah.
brainwash him. Perfect.
Oh, good. Good.
of course.
He can be ready for season 15 or 16,
he'll be
something
fine.
like that. Good to go.
He's already got sponsors and stuff.
Maybe by that time, Lords of the Storm will have a team. So who knows?
Never know.
Maybe.
TPK, what do
No,
you
it'll
get?
be all our kids. We'll
Yeah.
be sponsoring them.
Well, I
that
don't know about
open
that. It'll be a
division.
while before I have a kid.
Open Division HGC slot.
At least hopefully.
You
Yeah.
can be the manager or something.
Perfect. I'll do that.
The old manager who just yells all the time.
I don't know what I'm talking about. Just do better.
Lane changes. What is that?
I won't be
the
that
buttons.
old. That's 15 years away. I'm 28 years old. Jeez.
No, that's old Greg.
I'm all Greg.
I'm old Greg.
Old Greg.
Do you like Baylor?
Anyways, TBK community content. What do you got this week?
This week is pretty cool. Alexei Levshin on Twitter posted an pretty freaking incredible handmade gingerbread loot box. Here's the Storm loot box that his wife made, and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
it does.
I am seriously impressed. It looks good enough to eat and open and have 4 pieces of loot come out of it.
Yes. I wonder if there was anything inside, like any chocolate. Or
There's at
anything.
least one holiday themed thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least.
Which again, by the way, shout out to Blizzard for the coasters and mug and gingerbread cookie mount cookie,
Oh, for sure.
because that gingerbread cookie was actually delicious. It was so
It
good.
was good.
So.
Yeah, it looks delicious. If you want to see a picture of it, it'll be in the show notes.
I wonder, did we get an update on if it actually was delicious? I want to know. Gingerbread
I do
is
kind of want to
good.
know. It looks really
I'm
good.
gonna at him right now.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
All right.
We'll
So
update you next week on whether the loot box amazing gingerbread cookie was delicious.
it's important. People need.
Inquiring minds
know.
want to know.
They do. We have some emails and questions this week. So let's get into that. Multi.
All right, here we go. So nice gap there. I thought you were gonna follow it up with something, but whatever.
I never know what I'm going to do.
Multi.
So never
I
know.
never know what I'm doing. So yeah, we're even. Okay. So Clean Cut Ninja writes in.
Wait. Before we go into this, I need to address something. And
TBK.
I want to apologize to everybody for the slightly lesser quality audio quality episodes the last few weeks. Turns out that when the person who has all your production stuff is away, unfortunately,
Hey,
my setup cannot quite produce the same quality as far as getting the mics to sound right or the cool sounders
Audio
live
balancing.
in the middle of things and bouncing and stuff. But darn it all, that's not a reason. That's never going to be a reason for us to miss a show, because we strive to be consistently consistent
hey.
with Heroes because we just love talking about it so much, except Greg, who goes away for 3 weeks.
Well, I'm not just a guy with things, and that's why it sounds good. I work hard to produce this show, make it sound nice.
Yeah,
No, you do.
You're a production.
But
Yeah, you're a production guy, and
As
that's why
well.
That's why I'm saying that it doesn't sound as good when you're not here, because you have the equipment, you've put the effort into making it sound good, but we are about to remedy that situation. So thanks in part to the help of our patrons who give to the show every month, we are going to be upgrading Multi and I's audio equipment and production setup to allow all three of us to run the exact same level of production as Greg has been doing for the past, several years. And so we'll have new mics next week. At least mine is coming Friday, so I'm really excited about that. We're getting soundboards, and we're going to get those set up to parity with everybody. And so hopefully in the future, if one of us has to be gone, you'll get the exact same audio quality that you would normally get when Gizmo is running.
Well,
And again,
it probably
we
will be
couldn't
as good, but it'll be
Good.
close. It'll be close.
It'll probably be better.
Closer. Yeah, way better. It's going to be a contest now. It's going to be great. No, but seriously.
Like, this is a
we could-
TBK episode. That was pretty good.
Yeah, except for that guy that was peeking out the whole time. But no, seriously, again, we could not have done this without the help of the patrons. Like, I'm dead serious on that one. There's no way I would have been able to fund all this. So thank you guys so much for supporting us there. And also, so to address, this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but we got a couple iTunes reviews back. One of them is from someone who mentioned the poor audio quality of the last few episodes, but then added at the end, like the show. So I hope that you're listening to this one and
This
like
is
the
for
audio
you.
quality here a bit more, and we're going to improve it moving forward. So we're gonna turn that 2 stars into 5. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah.
It's not just for you. It's for everybody.
I know it's for everyone.
But you can claim it if you want, since we actually announced it on the episode after.
Yeah.
All right. So now we can get to some email questions here. A multi?
Yes. Okay. See, that was a better setup. I don't know why, but
I put
okay.
the pause before the multi instead of after. So
That's good. That's good. And now I just have to wait for TBK to cut me off. So here we go. Clean Cut Ninja writes in.
Wait. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay, fine. You gonna tell us more about those schedules? Okay. I'm gonna get to this Clean Cut Ninja.
oh gosh.
I'm gonna get to this. I like that he's clean cut too. Anyway, so okay, writes in, says, I think it would be helpful to go over untilt strategies, or strategies to not become tilted. Seems like when the whole community gets in a funk, the negative outlook on games just spreads. I know I've taken a bit of a break myself, but there has to be other ways to cool off and still have fun, even when you lose. So this is the kind of thing where we could definitely branch off into an entire discussion about, and I think we maybe should at some point, if there's a slow enough week where we could squeeze that kind of a talk in. But to give you just at least a brief look at how I handle it myself, honestly, I learned how to handle tilt from Hearthstone more than anything, which is kind of a weird thought, and I think I've said this on the show before, but it's been some time now. So in Hearthstone, it's the type of game where you get your cards that you're dealt, and if you just don't have the exact proper, if you have a curve deck and you're trying to drop 1, 2, 3, 4, and you don't land that, sometimes you can just lose. And also generally, you tend to have around a 50% win rate, and that's actually true in both games. So if you go back and even track your stats, you might see that you're at least somewhat close to 50%. And when you think about it, like if you just look at 50% as a number, you kind of think to yourself, oh, well, if I got a 50% on a term paper, I'd be failing that thing. But here it's actually super normal. So that's why, like, you have to kind of take the losses with a grain of salt. I'd say even especially in this game, when you lose because someone's being toxic on your team or something like that, because for every time you have a game like that, you're going to have a few at least that don't have those types of issues. Hopefully the majority of games don't have those types of issues. And again, to tie back to my Hearthstone analogy, for every game that you get killed on turn 5 because your hand is full of 6 drops, I mean, you might go back and relook at your deck a little bit, but you get the point. There's going to be games in which it does work. So just take your losses with a grain of salt. Try not to take them too hard. And I mean, if people are being that toxic, just mute them anyway, because you don't want them to tilt you either. So, but yeah, I'd say my tip is just to embrace the fact that you will lose. And honestly, when you do, sometimes that can be when you learn the most. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but it's true. I mean, if you can kind of think of, all right, are we able to turn this around? Can I get my team to at least follow these different, strategies and maybe turn it around? Even at least trying, you can benefit a lot from. So as long as you're not down by like 4 levels or something, right? So anyway, what do you guys think? I feel like I've been rambling forever.
Sorry, I was
I
dealing.
was
I
liking
messed
it.
up on a
Nice.
modding thing, and I was trying to fix that. Thank you, Wicked Kitten. But so for me on Untilting, I've gotten to where I really don't tilt too much anymore. I'm pretty good at shrugging things off. When I tilt, it's more based off of my own gameplay. So what I do typically is, I just try and play other games. A lot of, if you're wanting to play Hero specifically, if you're tilting in Hero League, go play some brawls, play some quick match, unranked draft, but you still run the risk of, especially in quick match, getting a crazy comp or people just not wanting to communicate, people that's just playing to try a hero, so they're not actually trying to win the match. So I play things like, Rocket League or Overwatch for me, because I don't take that seriously. Or a lot of, just Mario, if you guys have consoles or things like that.
Sure.
One thing I also did I haven't used this in a while, but it just made me think of it, and I may actually do it again. Back when I was doing hardcore raiding, when you do that, you're going to have rough nights where, you're raiding for 3.5 hours on a boss. You're not making any progress. You're wiping over and over again 30 seconds into the fight. I started playing classical music while I raided, just to kind of soothe myself.
Wait, playing it? Like, did you bust out a violin and just start?
Yes, I had a
Doing some
violin, a
Mozart?
cello, chimes, and a timpani.
He's very adept at playing mouse and keyboard with his feet.
Yes, which also
No wonder you're
explains
wiping
why
the whole
we
time.
continued to wipe 30
Yep.
seconds in. But just playing some relaxing music in the background. I know a lot of people don't like classical music or whatever, but something soothing and not upbeat, or just taking a break, watch some Netflix or something. It's gonna be different for everybody. You just gotta try some different things. I don't know, TPK.
Yeah.
Honestly, mute allied chat. It's a super simple way to do it. You can mute it right from the beginning. Pretty much anything in the game that you really need to get across can be gotten across with pings. And muting allied chat, for one, will not let you see other people disparaging you or somebody else. And also muting it will not tempt you to type back when they do type those mean comments. So that's just a really nice, easy thing to do, just straight off the bat. It can help you a lot. It can help you focus more in some ways, because then you need to be watching and learning to ping more instead of typing, and pinging is much easier, and it allows you to focus on the game, not focus on reading the text chat. So I would try that first, and then like they said, there's a lot of good suggestions. The listening to something a little calmer, music wise, going and playing a quick match and unranked drafts, taking a break. Usually, what I do is 3 losses in a row. You just stop.
Mhm.
You just
That's
take
a
a
good-
little break. Yeah, take a little break. Go play something else. Go have a sandwich. I don't know. Learn an instrument. Potentially the cello.
Play the cello while raiding. Yeah.
Play the cello while raiding. Play some WoW. Whatever. WoW can be pretty relaxing,
That's a
depending
really
on
good tip.
what you're doing. So
That's a really good tip because, like, sometimes for me, it's not that I'm tilted, but maybe I'm just not even playing that hot on a particular day. And same story, if I go 3 losses and I say to myself, you know what, I really am not putting out the numbers I once did, or my positioning was off, then sometimes I quit too, just to prevent any potential future tilt as well. So yeah. that's a good one.
Tilt can ruin your day. It really can. So just nip it in the butt before it happens. That's all you gotta do. We got another question here from J. Scott Ghost, Coast to Coast.
Indeed.
I added that last part.
I like it.
I like it. Especially Brack. Brack was the best on that show. Anyway, do you think that Tempo Storm will end up being the super team, or will all the personalities that are now on the team create conflict? Man, I mean, I can't imagine them not being strong, but what do you guys think?
This is I am honestly really intrigued to see how this first phase is going to shake out. I think Tempo Storm is going to be really strong. I think this is not really answering the question. It kind of is, but I don't necessarily think they're going to be a super team. I think they have potential to, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Heroes Hearth team can do, even though they're new and fresh. There's a lot of
me
returning
too.
players.
Yeah. It's really interesting because we've seen these so-called super teams in the past, and the results haven't been there because it doesn't matter how good, especially in Heroes, it doesn't matter how good the individual players are. If they cannot work cohesively as a team, then a cohesive team of less skilled players can beat them probably more often than not. And like I said, especially in Heroes, because this is a very team-based game. And if you're not all on the same page, if you're all trying to do your own thing, if you're all trying to be the lead, the pusher, the whatever, and there's a lot of strong personalities on New Tempo Storm. We're talking Glau, Cattle, Psalm, Fan, June. Like,
Yep.
there's just looking at it on paper, there's a lot of potential player skill wise, but there is also a lot of potential for personality clashes as well in this team. So I'm very moderate on their success until I see them for a few weeks and see if they are developing that team synergy and not that every man is good, but they're all doing their own thing, or they're not all on the same page, or there's too many cooks in the kitchen type thing.
Yep, I could see that. And Tempo Storm, as a Here's the Storm esports organization, has had personalities that conflicted in the past that caused major problems before. I mean, obviously the older teams aren't going to impact how these guys handle that sort of situation, but I think that's what Jay Scott Ghost is maybe tapping into if he's been following it that long. That if there is some sort of major like drama conflict with that in the team, they could really tank.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
let's hope
Navintic,
not.
that's what happened to Navintic.
Yeah.
So. Makes sense. And we have we have a couple more questions here. But next one is from Naraki.
Okay, so Naraki writes, do you guys think Blaze's kit and talents are a good solution for the whole mobility creep problem we have going on in the game? He throws in, I think so, but I honestly could do with more heroes like him to put Tracers and Genjis in their places. So is he mostly talking about the oil, or...
Yeah.
Oh, he's got
what kind of
he's got-
talent
he's
build
got-
really slows the...
He's got several slows. He's got he's got a
stun.
stun. He's got a lot of in some ways he's got a lot of control and ways he can get to people. I don't know if I would specifically call him a mobility creep counter,
It's more of an
but
anti-dive.
more so, yeah, anti-dive
Yeah.
for sure. More so as somebody who has some tools to counter mobility.
But not the kind of mobility like Tracer blinking around or Genji dashing away as much unless you land the stun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's a direct counter to them in general, but he does bring a lot of tools to slow a team down in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I honestly don't know what you do to counter or what else you can bring to the game to counter the quote mobility creep end quote besides like silences.
AoE slow bubble.
Yeah, there it is. We need a Naga with an AoE slow bubble.
I mean, like I could totally see something that I don't know if you could put it on anything but an ult, but it would be a very like interesting like big ol' temporal distortion bubble or something that was a huge slow. I mean, Chromie kind of has it a little bit in Shifting Sands. It's decent size, but it is still fairly localized. But
like even if you have that with Genji and stuff, you have your dash and still like a jump.
Right.
Tracer still has
silences,
blinks,
I think
but
silences at this point are the biggest, mobility creep.
Mm-hmm. Or countering
to
mobility
prevent
with
those
mobility.
kinds.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like this can definitely help. It can make it harder. I mean, as Blaze have definitely set up kills on Genjis and Tracers who have come in, just because of the slows make them a little easier to hit with your stuns. And if your team follows up on that, they're squishy enough to die. But I don't necessarily think like that's what his kit is centered around. But
Right.
I do like kind of this direction, and I would like to see, some possibly more control stuff like this. I don't know. I just like Blaze. He's
I
cool.
can see it.
Um,
Don't you guys know mobility, mo problems?
who? MOBA.
I like it.
Whoa.
Yes. So that is the last question we'll get to this week. We do have one from Corzord, a little longer. So we're going to save that for next week, get into some more detail. But before we get out of here, I think we're going to play some post-show games this week. Multi, why don't you let people know where we can be reached?
Well, we can be found in game by typing /join space LOTS, which is short for Lords of the Storm. Or you can join our Discord, which is at bit.ly/lots Discord, or you can find it sticking to the top of our Twitter at Lords of the Storm. We're also on twitch.tv/Lords of the Storm live Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Central. So check us out there, and not the Overwatch League, obviously. Check us out. We've got a Facebook page, facebook.com/Lords of the Storm podcast. And you can email us with feedback or questions, lordsofthestorm@outlook.com. And if you want to help out the show, you could leave a review, preferably a positive one. But again, I mean, whatever. Obviously, you guys heard we got a little feedback, and then we bought a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, it matters. But 5-star iTunes reviews in particular are great. Wink, wink. Other guy, yeah. And then anyway, if you want to help with the show even further, we do have the Patreon at patreon.com/Lords of the Storm, where again, we couldn't have made some of these upgrades without you guys. So it's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
You can also find
You
us
guys are awesome.
individually, myself on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, all those things at Gizmozord, as well as occasionally Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. Central over on Convert to Raid, Convert to Raid presents the BattleNet News podcast about all things Blizzard, heavy on the WoW. Multi, where can you be reached?
You can find me on Twitter at Multizord, and there's also another show called The Cavalry. It's a podcast about Overwatch. I was on the last one because it was episode 100. So if you haven't
Yeah.
checked that one out yet, and you might want to check out the next one. I'm still not confirmed on that, but because reasons. Just check out the next one. Because reasons.
Okay.
TBK, where can they find you?
I mean, that's the best reason to do things. For reasons.
Yeah, you don't need a real reason. You just need reasons.
You should
to be
check your
because.
schedule to see if you're going to be on there.
Well, you should either check your schedule or your
Check
schedule.
yourself before
Yeah.
you wreck yourself.
Oh, you can find my schedule for all things I do on Twitter at TBKZord and twitch.tv/TBKZord.
Do you actually have your schedules on there?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's because it's terrible. I want to stream more. I want to stream more so bad, but family life and all the other stuff I'm doing is so hectic that it's usually all just spur of the moment.
You
Life
have a
is
kid, and
crazy.
you're about to have another, so
I am
Life-
about to have another kid.
Life is crazy. We want to give a special thanks to our patron producer Ouroboros Sword for helping support the show, as well as Chat and our mod Wicked Kitten. Chat was awesome tonight. I do want to say it's been good to be back after 3 weeks.
yeah.
There is a potential I may not be here next week, and I just want to apologize for that. It's not my fault. My parents, for Christmas this year, got me tickets to go see Traveling Final Fantasy Orchestra. I don't remember the name of it
Which
right now.
is awesome.
Yes,
That
and
is
I've been
amazing.
I've been wanting to see this group for years, and they're going to be at the Kansas City. What's it called?
Are they at the music hall or
No, it's at the. Anyways, a
Sports
really
Center.
nice facility, opera house type thing.
It's not the Kaufman Center.
Yes, it's at the
Performing Arts,
Kaufman
is it?
Center.
It
Yes,
is?
it's at the
Oh,
Kaufman Center.
dang. So this
I
is
just
one of
wish
the
I
few
knew the music of-
legit situations he can.
Yes,
miss.
it's like it's a world class facility. I've never been there. I've never seen this group.
Oh, it's so awesome.
And they got me tickets that are for next Wednesday. They are doing a show that Thursday. I'm gonna try and get that night switched. I don't know if I can. We will see. But I do apologize. I hate to miss out again. But it was a Christmas gift. So
But remember, TBK will have awesome production stuff.
yes,
all
I will
set
get
up
them.
next week,
works.
just
I will
in
get-
case.
I will get him trained. And if production's still bad, you can
Yeah,
blame it on
Greg
me.
will.
I don't know.
Greg will show me all the things, and if I do terrible, then it's still probably his fault.
Yeah, probably. But again, apologies. But I love you guys, and it's been great to be back. I was sad and I was lonely,
We missed you.
but we're here, and Heroes is here. We'll always be here, hopefully. And we'll see you guys same time, same place. Hopefully next week, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central. Yeah, see you then.
Enough. I shall do no more.
Yeah, new special guest, Gizmo Sword.